right now. All right.
All right. Dex, when you tweet that, let me go retweet that.
All right. Y'all ready to go?
1 second. Let me get this tweet off.
No.
Maybe Malice at the Palace was a good thing. We need more Malice at the Palace because these fans won't stop doing this crazy shit.
Facts. Big facts.
We need to restore the feeling.
What happened?
Somebody threw a bottle at Kyrie as they were walking off the floor.
Of course.
And Kyrie was going crazy tonight. They were going, fuck you, Kyrie. He just kept scoring. And it was
37 and 9 or something like that. 9
very
rebounds.
Ugly. That maybe at some point I'd be like, you know what? Maybe we don't chant anymore about that guy. Like,
you know what's funny is that like all those like people, anyone, it doesn't matter where, Boston, anywhere, they would throw something at Kyrie. Kyrie would come up to you. Kyrie's 6'3". Like he's like
he's not a small dude. He's
just all of a sudden taller than anything that you could ever imagine. You're like, oh shit, this is a pro athlete.
Did you change the caption thing on the streaming?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
All right, y'all ready to go?
Did you tweet it from your account or the One Take account?
I'm tweeting it from my account, and I'll retweet it from Apollo and from One Take.
All right, bet.
Trying to get that Twitter cloud up. All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the One Take Podcast, episode 66, a Fargo special edition Fargo review, a classic review. We don't do very many classic films on this podcast, but we're feeling spicy. We're feeling great about this one.
So excited.
We are joined by Paul Catalina from Sikkim 365. We've had Paul on. It's been a while since you came on, Paul. How you doing? Apparently your air conditioning is broken, so that's
the good news. Yeah, I'm upstairs in my office and it has a separate unit. So downstairs, a holiday weekend is the best time because you have to pay time and a half to get somebody to come out, and then to get it fixed under your warranty, you have to wait. So it's lovely to do it. But I'm doing great. I'm just full disclosure, I kind of asked onto this one because Fargo is a go-to movie for me. Like, if I'm like that, like if I'm in a certain kind of mood, like Fargo is the movie. I'm fascinated. I love the television series that they've kind of spun off of it in its very own unique way. But the movie Fargo, I think, is it's the Coen Brothers opus, and they've done a lot of good ones. And I think, but I think Fargo is their true. Like, even if you want to say No Country for Old Men or anything else, Blood Simple, but like Fargo is their absolute just perfect.
I mean, it's in the Library of Congress for a reason. Yeah. So but Dex, you wanted to do this film. Why did you have a specific reason that you wanted to do this all of a sudden?
I saw that it was on Amazon Prime and then it was off Amazon Prime for whatever reason for like a week, and now it's back. I don't know, but I saw it was on Amazon Prime and I was like, Fargo is fucking awesome. Let's talk about Fargo. Those accents will stick with me for the rest of my life. We made jokes about those accents literally every day in college. After I watched this movie for the first time, I watched this movie like my freshman year of college for the first time, and I was like, shit is awesome. It's just hilarious. For no real reason. There's no reason for it to be as funny as it is. Like, there's no jokes or anything. They're just like from Minnesota and people die in funny ways. Like, that's the funny part. So yeah, this movie's just awesome. We need to talk about more awesome movies.
Is this the most Coen Brothers movie of all time?
Either that or The Big Lebowski.
I would argue Raising Arizona, but we can get into it.
Okay, that's a really good. That's true. Raising Arizona is the Fargo of that part of Arizona. Wait, is that movie actually in Arizona? I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the Fargo of Arizona.
Tej is wearing just a loser shirt. So we'll go with that. He swears he swears that they will win the Big 12. This is not true. But other than your wrongness, Tej, how you doing? How'd you find this movie?
I'm doing great. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. I have seen every single one of their films. I think my first Coen Brothers film was The Big Lebowski, but Fargo, I think, was the second. I watched The Big Lebowski. I watched Fargo, I think, my freshman year of college as well, and I just immediately fell in love with it. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and it's one of those movies that I can always put on and always enjoy, and it always brings me into the movie, even if I got something else going on. After the first sequence before you meet the cop, I just love the whole way that they set out the plot of the movie. I just fell in love with it. So that's how I found Fargo.
It's funny that like both of you mentioned, like I saw like, I graduated college in 2002. I'm a lot older than all you guys, but I remember like I watched it in college, or right, I guess when right after, so I was that like in my 20s, and Fargo is a movie to me that like, if you watch it, like it's one of those things, like if I watched it with a girl, when I was like dating before my, very committed, serious relationship that I'm in now, like if I watched Fargo with a girl and she's like, I don't get it, I'd be like, get the fuck out. Like it's not gonna like it's not like that's it. It's not gonna work. Like I know it. You're not gonna like we're not gonna jive because you don't get like why this movie is so cool. Because like sometimes it like like you tell me, oh, it's a crime drama. Oh, is there a lot of action? I'm like, well, there's like 2 whole minutes of action in the movie. like oh, it's a comedy. Like oh, are there jokes? Like no, it's just funny though. And then like you try to like just the characters are so well written. It's like if you see it and you go, oh man, this was just like you're just engrossed in the movie, And so I judge people on the like, oh, I get Fargo, I don't get Fargo. Like, okay, you don't get Fargo. Like, listen, just go off to your people, and I'll like us and the cool people will hang out together.
Go be free. Be free. Not to like age you or anything, but I had to watch this movie for college.
Yeah.
So there's that. But this movie is absolutely an instant classic. I think Roger Ebert called it his favorite movie of all time back when he reviewed it. So let me get into that sort of section of the podcast really quickly. Fargo, a 1996 film. If you Google Fargo, careful, because the TV series, which is also great in its own right, just shockingly, will come up first. But Fargo, 1996. It's rated R, obviously. It is only an hour and 38 minutes long, which I found to be shocking because so much, and I also said so little happens in this movie at the same time. It's so hard to describe.
That's so true. Literally, you could describe what happens in 2 seconds, but also so much happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8.1 on IMDb. Jerry Lundegaard's inept crime falls apart due to his and his henchmen's bungling and the persistent police work of the quiet, pregnant Marge Gunderson. All great names. It was, it says in the credits, only directed by, was it Ethan or by Joel Coen? Written and directed. Yeah, written and directed by Joel Coen. He's Ethan Coen's uncredited because why wouldn't he also direct this movie? But it stars William H. Macy, Frances McDormand, Steve Buscemi, Peter Stormare, and a cast of other character actors. It has an 85 Metascore on Metacritic. It won 2 Oscars. It is rated the number 174 movie of all time on Metacritic. One for Frances McDormand and Best Writing a Screenplay, Ethan and Joel Coen. They were nominated for Best Picture. William H. Macy was nominated for Supporting Actor. Joel Coen, director. Roger Deakins actually did the cinematography, which makes a lot of sense. And
that makes so much sense.
Another one of his Oscars that he didn't win, and Best Film Editing for both Ethan and Joel Coen, which they went under the pseudonym Roderick James. They didn't want to credit for editing. Yeah, I don't know. This was part of the era of cinema where this was not made for a whole lot of money. And of course, none of the Coen Brothers films really ever are. But this was the sort of people that grew up on VHS tapes and everything coming up in 90s cinema and making movies that were hits for very little money. Only had a budget of $7 million. Surprisingly, for as big of a hit as it is, which this is also the case with Big Lebowski and some of the Coen's other work, people have gone back to it over the time, only made $60 million.
Yeah. Their movies don't really have like big, even to, other than what is the George Clooney one with all the songs? That one,
Burn After Lockdown, which is
other than that one, all of them are just kind of like there are Coen Brothers fans, and those are the people who watch his movies. It's not like they break past that wall, but there's so many Coen Brothers fans that they could sustain a career just making movies for people that like their other movies.
Yeah. By the way, Fargo is my favorite Coen Brothers movie, but I have an Oh Brother Where Art Thou poster up here on the wall.
Man of Constant Sorrow is a banger.
Yeah, and that's because it just shows
what a
like,
Grammy.
they're different. Like every Coen Brothers movie is the same and different. Like they're all the same, but they're all different. Like the jokes are all like the way that they're the humor, or like No Country for Old Men is dark as shit. I mean, like there's no real humor in it at all, unless you like Woody Harrelson has one kind of funny scene in it. That's just because he's Woody, but Fargo works on such a level that it's just when I remember when it came out, like I remember seeing the previews going, I don't like, why would I want to see, like I was 16 in 1996. I remember thinking like, what do I care about Fargo? And then like, it was one of those things, like everybody started like talking about it. And then a couple years later, I'm in college, I'm sitting in the dorm, and a buddy of mine who was in a movie, he's like, hey, let's watch Fargo. And he puts on Fargo. I was like, that's some of the best shit I've ever seen. Like, I was like, this is unbelievable. But yeah. And again, it's magnificent in its simplicity.
Definitely gave agency to a lot of elder millennials to be like, you haven't seen Fargo? It's like, you don't listen to Bob Marley? Come on,
I don't like
man.
the term elder millennial. I don't like that term. I just want to.
Well, I'm just letting you know that's what it. But it definitely gave agency to a lot of people that like this was a film nerds thing, because it didn't make a lot of money, but like it is held in such high regard. Has 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, 93 audience score. Violent, quirky, and darkly funny, Fargo delivers an original crime story and a wonderful performance by Frances McDormand. And I cannot agree enough. We have to talk about Frances McDormand in this. She is pitch
absolute
perfect in this movie, but
absolute queen.
We'll start with a rating and review from our esteemed guest. Paul, go ahead, give it a letter grade.
Oh, this is an A plus. I mean, it's so like,
give it a review.
Yeah, I mean, it's an A plus. I mean, the acting is you don't one of the things about the acting in this movie is you don't feel like you're watching people pretend to be from Minnesota or whatever. Like they just a lot of times, and I feel this in like, we're all in Texas, so if you know a movie of like clearly people from Texas directed this movie when the accents are right, but people from like sometimes they're like,
Friday Night Lights
takes place in Texas, like, okay, yeah, Friday Night Lights, but you'll have people like that are doing Texas accents that are just like, I'm from Texas, and you're like, come on, man, like, what part of like that's, but like this one, like they went and like they clearly immersed themselves in listening to the accent and picking up on the little things. And I liked this movie even more after a couple years ago when the Super Bowl was in Minnesota, we were doing our show there from the Mall of America every day on Radio Row. And
because of course
we went to a sushi restaurant on White Bear Lake, and it was unbelievable. The sushi restaurant. But like when we were asking the guy who was taking us, he's like, oh, it's on White Bear Lake. And like, all I thought of as soon as he said White Bear Lake, I was like, oh no, that's Big Bear Lake up there. Like that's the scene where he's like, oh, he's kind of funny looking, and what kind of, oh, just kind of a general way. Just kind of,
whoever that old man is, the timing of the comedy in that scene with the old man is just amazing. It's just so good.
Yeah. And like the Coen brothers find people like that, like local people who look weird. Like you go through any movie, like Oh Brother Out There has some people that are certainly 1930s Mississippi trash. Like that's what they look like. That's their look now, like, and then you're in Fargo, and that's why it's an A to me, is because like there are people, like you go up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the Twin Cities, and like you see people, that's who they are. That's their look. That's them. Like it was like going around, it was -9 the whole time I was there. And they were like, oh, it's not so bad. It's just -9. I was like, oh my God, you're fucking insane. Like this is the seventh circle, but they like it. They like, and then, but like you,
oh, a storm looks like a storm's coming, huh? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You betcha. Yeah.
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 Sorry to interrupt you.
Hey Wade, what you watching? Gophers.
Yeah, it is. The thing about the accents, though, I mean, obviously it is pretty accurate, but it's a heightened version of whatever that is. But I think this movie spawned what we know as the Minnesota like impression.
Yeah,
it became
for
the
sure.
truth. It became
Yeah.
none of us have ever been to Fargo, well, except for Paul, and it became the truth. It became that's actually what it's like in that region of the country. We just accepted it because it felt real.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, here's the other thing. The movie's entitled Fargo. The very first scene of the movie's in Fargo, and none of the rest of it.
Yeah.
None of the rest of
Well,
it.
Brainerd doesn't sound like a good name for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brainerd's a zombie flick.
I'm up from Brainerd.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It is really interesting how the Coen brothers, like in most of their films, I mean, Josh Brolin's movie star, good looking. Of course, Nicolas Cage is good looking in his own right, but he looks crazy in Raising Arizona. But like,
He really does.
There's no movie star good looking people in this movie. That it's just normal looking, like Frances McDormand. Of course, say what you will about her, I think she's attractive in this film. But that being said, she just looks like, you know, an every woman sort of person. It's not Burn After Reading. There's no George Clooney's and Brad Pitts.
Yeah.
In sort of their early films, you know what I mean? They're like relying on the John Goodmans. They're relying on all these people. Frances McDormand, Steve Buscemi. Say what you will, he is funny looking. Like it's just like
they're literally making jokes about one of the guys who would eventually go on to become a star in his own right, being funny looking. That's the joke. Mm-hmm. That is literally the joke.
Yeah. So Dex, you wanted to do this film. Let's go ahead and go with you. What do you give it? Give it a letter grade. You've been on this podcast, you know.
I think I understand the format at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it an A. I won't go A plus. Just because like way less than I remember happens in this movie.
Yeah.
Like you watch it and you're just like, oh, it's over now. Like that's it. We're done.
90 minutes long. I was shocked by that.
I guess when I was watching it like in college or whatever, we're watching it with a bunch of people, so it just always just feels longer watching a movie that way. But yeah, you get to the end of it and you're like, okay, like, damn, I guess it's over now. But this movie is so entertaining. I already forgotten his name, but the main dude is the worst scammer of all time.
Garbage ass. It's so bad.
And like just watching this shit fall apart so quickly is hilarious.
Jerry Lundegaard. Yeah, William H. Macy. I heard Conan O'Brien say about him one time when he was interviewing William H. Macy is, you are the scummiest scumbag in the history of movies in this movie. And I don't think there's any like you can't really you can't be scummier than like willfully deceiving your own son about what's going on. And not worrying about what happens when he's going to be without like parents and grandparents at the end of this movie. And having your own wife kidnapped, like the fact that it would even enter your mind. And then you would,
isn't she killed at the end of the movie?
Yeah, she gets killed.
Yes, she gets killed.
Yeah, like when Steve Buscemi walks back in, she's like dead on the floor in the cabin. You know,
she was screaming.
Yeah. And so, and he had no qualms about that, and felt justified in doing it because he felt that his father-in-law was so bad. So yeah. I mean, you're right, Dex. He is a scumbag.
He's a scumbag,
he's so
and he's bad at it. Yeah,
he's such a scumbag that the person what's the TV show that he's popular
Shameless.
He's literally just like another version of a scumbag on Shameless because he was so good at playing a scumbag 30 or 40 years ago.
That show is wildly entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
He's just perfect scumbag, and he has so much confidence, but he's just like horrible.
So
like,
trash.
He's LeBron James.
Well,
he thinks he's LeBron James, but he's horrendous at this.
Yeah, well,
he's scamming, but also getting scammed. Like he's the mark the whole time, and it's like just watching all the pieces come together, and this man's life falling apart is just hilarious. Frances McDormand being the greatest detective of all time, like. She cleaned that shit up in like 2 days.
But she did that because she asked really simple questions. She just asked like obvious questions. It kind of shows you how stupid most crime is. Like all you have to do is ask like simple questions, and then you'll be like, well, didn't think of that, because people get greedy. But back to Macy for a second. He do you remember him in Boogie Nights?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like in Boogie Nights, he shoots himself, but he has the scene before it happens where like he walks in and he's like, oh, my wife, she's fucking this guy. He's just so sad sack about it. Like that's kind of Jerry Lundegaard. Like, you lied to me, Mr. Lundegaard. You're a fucking liar. And then he just goes out in the like, he's like, I'm gonna find out about the true coat. And he just goes and watches like
You watching the game?
goes and
tickets?
watches hockey.
I've been
for a
there though.
second.
I felt him on that shit because when I worked retail, I definitely was like, I'll go look in the back.
Yeah.
1 second.
1 second. I'll definitely go look at the back. I'm not looking for
Yeah, fuck that. But yeah, man, it's an A. It's just wildly entertaining. Like the crime is funny because it's so stupid, but also it's like really fucked up if you think about it. And that's like what dark comedy is and like what makes it work. But yeah, it's hard to not like this film. I got to give it an A.
Teach.
This is an A+. This is one of I think 4 perfect Coen Brothers films. This film is perfect. When literally from the first scene, and the reason why it's called Fargo is because the first scene, literally you have this alpha beta classic pair of criminals who've been through some shit, are willing to do some shit, and you get a call that you are supposed to go help this dude with a crime. And the person that walked into the bar to meet you is Jerry Lundegaard. He's nervous, but he's somehow confident. He obviously is like cares about social cues. He wants to like be polite to people. And he tells you, I want you to kidnap my wife. And you're like, what? This dude wants someone to kidnap their wife? And you immediately realize that they see him as like, this guy's a mark. He is now the target, right? He doesn't realize it, but he becomes the mark at that moment. And just watching him just fumble at every turn while at the same time getting you Francis McDormand, who's literally just asking just like, hey, did you have a car stolen from this lot? And he literally just can't handle the question. He's being rude. He's
like
yelling at her.
chair.
And it's like, you're not even being interrogated. I don't even know that you're a part of the crime yet. I'm just trying to ask for information because I think there's a crime happening over here. And you immediately let me know that you are a part of this crime now. Like just the way that in every scene just kind of lets you sit in the environment for a second. There's no need for the scene with the old man telling him about how he procured the information and saw the guy at the bar. And there's no need for us to see the scene except for they want us to see what 2 people from this town would interact like, even when the stakes are so high of like, I'm reporting a crime that there might be serial killers in our town. So
that scene also lets you like, that's almost just a pickup, just so you know why she's driving by in that one spot at that point in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the perfect time, like, oh shit, that's my car.
Yeah.
It's just it's just such a charming movie, which is weird to say about a movie with a scene where somebody gets literally like blown into bits by a industrial tool. Like, but it's such a charming movie. It's just so funny every time to watch this unfold, even though you know what's gonna happen. And it's perfect. It's an A+.
Yeah, I'm with Dex. I give this movie. I'm an A. I'm like bordering on an A+, mostly because like there's some scenes in here like that don't really make sense unless somebody smarter than me can explain to it. Like the whole thing with Mike and how he's like mentally unstable, and they just put that in there. It feels like to
no, there's a purpose to that scene.
Of course,
what is it? Because I definitely didn't get it.
I don't think they needed the scene, but the purpose of that scene is bookended by when she first sits down with Jerry Lundegaard and when she second meets him again. That scene's supposed to let you know that's how she realizes that Jerry's lying to her, because she took him at face value, even though the interaction was weird the first time where she asked, have you had any cars stolen from this lot? And that scene where she got lied to by someone and didn't pick up on it was her way of now knowing I have to recircle to Jerry because he is lying about his part of the case, and that's how she figures it all out.
That is incredibly subtle because that went.
But you don't need it. But you really don't need it. Like she could just get there, and we would trust her to get there. You've already instilled the trust in us.
Yeah.
But it's also a hilarious scene every time, so I never don't like it.
Well, also like I think like they've got this guy Mike Anagita who's got a fun, like he, like the way he says his name is funny.
Mike Anagita.
The Asian and Minnesota accent together is perfect.
Yeah, he's funny and like it also is another part of like, here's the thing you don't know until you go there. There's a huge Japanese population in Minneapolis. Huge, really? Tons of Japanese.
Really?
People. That's why there's that's why there's so many sushi restaurants. That's why I went to the one in White Bear Lake, because there's a lot of Japanese people in Minneapolis.
I would have never known that.
Audio industry or whatever, but like then you see this like, okay, well here's a guy like you would never think of like in Minneapolis and Minnesota, like I always think of the Chris Rock joke about Minnesota, like the only black people in Minnesota are Prince and Kirby Puckett, so like like, so when I think of Minnesota, I think of a place that's like totally whitewashed. And then you go there and you're like, I mean, it's almost true, but then you're like, there's Japanese people everywhere here. Like, what's
got it.
going on? And so, like, when you see it, you see Mike Anagita, like, okay, well, yeah, that's why he's grown up there. Like, you know, like it's, you know, they're there because I think the auto industry has something like, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, there's, and so he's there. It's like, yeah. And then the fact that he is like, the other thing that I love, like, I think they just wrote this really funny character who's just like really hot after this pregnant lady in his town.
He's
like adds another level of like weird to it.
Yeah.
Like, can I come sit over here? Like, no, don't sit over there. Like, what
he
are you
asked
doing?
her. He asked her about her marriage before he makes his move. Like, this dude is an absolute creep.
Scumbag, bro.
It is funny to me seeing a person of color with a Minnesota accent, because up until, like you said,
yes,
it is the whitest film of all time. Like, quite literally, it is whiter than a Scorsese film. It is white. And then seeing a person of color just being like, oh, don't you know? You're just kind of like, like, you know, but but yeah, I think Frances McDormand, I think obviously she was nominated for an Oscar before this, and she's all of a sudden is one of the like leaderboard for one of the best actresses of all time.
Oh, she's like Streep, right? She's like up there with Streep now.
She has three Oscars for three acting Oscars, 4 wins. She won for Nomadland for producing it also this past time. But anyway,
got it.
So she has 4 Oscars. And and between this, Billboards, and now Nomadland, she's just all of a sudden Pantheon material. But this is by far, I feel like, her one most notable performance, and 2 her most likable performance, probably, because you watch 3 Billboards, you're kind of like, you like that woman, but also it's just kind of like, damn, this is hard to watch.
Or if you're like me, you just don't watch movies like that. So I've never seen it.
Same.
It's really good, but it also is hard to watch. It's even more hard to watch than this. But she's just so disarming, but incredibly I don't know the word, but it's disarming the way that she asks questions, but she's so stern in her questioning that it's really cool to see, because it's like, oh, I'll answer this cop's questions, and then all of a sudden she's asking, well, where were you? And you're just kind of like, this is weird. Where were you Friday night? Just so disarming like that. And she doesn't even come in through, halfway through the movie, it feels like.
I wrote it down. It's like 30 minutes for you to meet her in the movie.
I think sometimes Steve Buscemi's character can get a little bit much, but whatever. He's playing the Steve Buscemi character. He's done it for years, and
I think he has to be much, though, because like
the other guy isn't.
But he's the reason they get caught. I mean, he and Jerry, like, his like ego and stuff is what gets them caught. He goes back up to the Twin Cities and starts barking at people, and got the Jose
Hooker.
Feliciano got no complaint, taking her to taking hookers out and stuff like that, like like trying to be a big shot, and like you see it. Like, the cool thing about Steve Buscemi is you see his ego like building the whole movie about like he's in charge. Like, I think that what it really turns for him, and this is so weird because I thought about this week when I was thinking about it, where his ego turns and he's like decided, I'm not going to take any more, is when he's coming out of the parking thing and he's like, I'm not going to park here. And
you feel like a big fucking man,
$4, and he's like, these are the limits of your life, man. And just gets after the guy.
Shit going on.
Yeah, and then like after that point, he's like, no, I'm not taking any shit from anybody anymore. Like, that's it. I'm taking control. This parking lot attendants charged me $4. None of this is going right.
I looked it up. I was like, what's the inflation rate between from between 96 and 21? And I was like, is $4 like now like $25, like something where it'd be like, no, it's only like $6.
It was the principle of the thing. Like, it was just the principle of the thing that he was just so offended by.
Yeah.
There was a Frasier episode about this exact thing happening. Like, literally the entire episode is just Niles and Frasier sitting in the car because Frasier is like protesting this parking pay thing. So he sits there for like, well, I got to pay for an hour. So I'm going to sit here for an entire fucking hour and not give you, I think it was $5 or whatever. And then
I called
he
a box
immediately-
episode. What's that
a
called?
bottle episode.
Bottle episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like he immediately like waits too long and has to pay for an extra hour. So he sits there all over again. Shit is hilarious. But yeah.
Yeah, I think all the characters are great. I think obviously it's all heightened in the Coen Brothers script, and you just get comedy out of they're really good at finding real life situations and heightening them, I feel like, and making things a little bit larger than life, because like this is something that could happen, obviously, maybe not to the extent of kidnapping wives and things like that, but like goes and tries to find a murder. And I think just some of the framing is brilliant in this movie by Roger Deakins as well, when he, especially when she's going to investigate the triple murder at the beginning of the film when she first introduced, and she goes out there and she's about to throw up, and the guy's just sitting over her shoulder. He's like, "Oh, we got a murder here. That looks too bad." And it's like a dead dude in a red jacket sitting over her shoulder, and it's just all the comedy plays in so subtly. It's crazy. And oh, he's got his gun on his hip. Doesn't seem like too bad of a guy. That's a shame. It's just like, just all that subtle stuff that if you've known someone from the Midwest, or if you've known someone like with that sort of politeness or whatever, it's just so funny and heightened, and obviously it's larger than life, but it feels like a situation that could definitely happen. My one complaint is that a lot happens and maybe this is the brilliance of it, and I'm a dumb idiot, which yes, but like a lot happens and not a lot happens at the same time, and that confuses me. And for that, I just give it an A. So that's where I'm sitting with it. But we can start kind of just breaking it down a little bit if y'all want to. I got a bunch of notes actually that I took on this film. Is the true story thing is a plot device, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That started, because that started way back when with like Cannibal Holocaust or whatever. That's not like a thing that the Coen Brothers did.
Yeah, and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all that.
Yeah. This is what I said about the Coen Brothers are great at putting very interesting stories in very small settings. Not very many of their movies are these huge, and I don't even think any of them are really these huge scopes. Like Barton Fink is basically just all in a hotel room.
It's like one hotel room.
Yeah, exactly. Raising Arizona's in this small town in basically a trailer park in Arizona. This is in the Midwest. I think maybe
the biggest might be the Big
Lebowski.
Lebowski. That might be the biggest because it's like all of LA kind of, but
Brothers, the Odyssey. So that's probably their biggest scope as far as story,
and set pieces. Yeah. But like, it's just
that
like
makes sense.
this entire movie is basically like them going from one parking garage to another. Basically.
The opening of the movie is this big ass dramatic like music that's really slow and building, and then you just see like an Oldsmobile like slowly driving across middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And I think some of the shots, again, I say by Roger Deakins, like are great at capturing just how vast and boring, maybe even the Midwest. It's just like, especially when he's coming out after the meeting, that is also hilarious, and is with his father-in-law and his sidekick, where you just find out that Lundegaard's an idiot, where he's like, "Oh, you expect us to pay for this parking lot or whatever, or this car lot, and then only collect the interest on it?"
But like,
He's
what?
like,
Why would he even think? And it's not. He knows he has a bad relationship with his father-in-law anyway. So like, you don't think that that's going to be the thing that decides it. And he would never give this to a stranger. That doesn't make sense. I'm not a bank. And so like, why did you think I was going to literally hand you a $750,000? Like, here you go. You're the dumbest person I know. You would.
That scene goes on.
I would lose that money
minutes.
forever.
That scene goes on for 10 minutes, and they're like, "Wait, you just want $750,000?" It's like, "Well, I pay you the principal." He's like, "We're not a bank, but I pay you the principal." Look, it proves how big of an idiot he is.
That's another Minnesota thing. Like hell, FDIC.
Yeah.
But that's the scene that also like. So you wonder like, what can this guy who just hates his father-in-law? Like I'm sure plenty of people don't get along with their father-in-law because he's never going to love you because you're banging his daughter, like just,
I mean, he even says early on in the movie, he's like, what's his wife's name? I'm sorry. Wife and son name.
Gene and Scotty.
Gene and Scotty will be fine.
Yeah. Gene and Scotty will
have
be fine.
to worry.
Never have to worry about money.
I don't care about your lot in life, but they will never have to worry about money.
Yeah. And so, but like you see what he's done is like, he already works for his father-in-law anyway, because the father-in-law owns the car dealership, but he's just written up at like, he's thought like, and this is what a lot of like simple, stupid crime is like, well, who's going to know if I write, like if I send, the car loan people 10 VIN number, like 10 loans, like, what do they know? Like I'll get the money and I'll pay it back. I need the money right now. You don't even really know why. Like, I think that's the other thing is like, why did he do that in the first place? Like,
do we ever find out why he's in financial trouble? Do we ever find out?
Like, you don't really know. Like, he's just decided to do this because, for whatever reason. And then like, maybe he just thought he'd get away with it, but like, you never know why he did it. You just know that he has done it.
To dig in more to kind of like what is in the TV show is this, it's almost like death, like a comedic death of a salesman where he's just fed up with his lot in life is what I kind of feel like it is, where he's just kind of like, I have this rich wife or father who is rich and I am just done. I am just done with the modernity. I'm done with the monotony of Minnesota and the Gophers and like my son going to McDonald's at like till 9:30 at night. I'm just done with it. And it was one of those things that I felt like it was kind of a tale of the post Cold War man, where it's just like, oh, we don't really have much to worry about besides going to work and like everything else. And I think it's brilliant by the Coen brothers, but I just want to get back is that I think it also Deakins captures that by how it, like some of the framing shots when he's walking out of the meeting, just to go all the way back, it's just a wide open parking lot and them staring down on him as he's trying to walk to his car. And there's several shots of that where there's these huge wide shots of just how vast and empty where they are is and how lonely it feels, especially when they're dealing with Lundergaard's character. And I feel like, and this is the most movie thing that we'll get into for me with this, is just how I think fed up it shows that the post-modern man was within the context of this film and how terrible that can be, like how toxic that is actually.
I think I always view it as like a very interesting view on like hyper masculinity, but even in people you might not expect it from. It's like the whole time Jerry is just feeling like he can just will his way into a different life just because he is smarter than everybody and better than everybody. He's a step ahead of everybody. At the same time, you literally see that happening to Buscemi's character right after the cop gets killed right in front of him, and he kind of realizes, oh shit, I'm in a much deeper situation than I might have bargained for. I thought you're just going to be a little bit of kidnapping, no rough stuff, but this dude literally just murdered a cop and his brains have leaked onto my lap. The only way I can really get out of this is to just be the hyper masculine man and not take no shit off nobody, which eventually leads to his demise and also leads to Jerry going to jail. And also his father-in-law is dead. His wife is dead. And now he's going to jail forever. Like,
just a tad amount of treason. Just a slight amount of treason. Go ahead.
They give you like very early on, they give you the two not built for this moments. Like Jerry's first meeting, he is not built for this.
Well, I thought you said A30.
Shook out of his mind in that meeting. He's like, these dudes might kill me at any moment. Like I just want to kidnap my wife. Like I don't know who these dudes are that Shep sent me. Like I thought it was gonna be real easy. Like nah, shook out of his mind.
I'd rather not discuss personal matters. Like it's just like they're asking you these questions and he's just like, that doesn't matter, just kidnap her, like don't worry about it. Like he just is fumbling.
Here's that thing from that scene that I never realized, because Steve Buscemi takes the lead right away. It took me like 3 watches to realize that Peter Stormare was the one who set it up. Like he was the real criminal. Like he was the guy. He and Shep Proudfoot were
Yes,
cellmates.
yes.
So they knew each other. And Steve Buscemi is the interloper in this.
Yep.
He's the one that I've
Never realized that. That's really cool. Actually, go ahead.
That,
Yeah,
like,
you don't realize.
He's the one who's been brought in and now has tried to take this over because Peter Stormare doesn't say anything. So Steve Buscemi feels like he's got to be the leader of this little criminal expedition. And if you watch, like, when they're kidnapping the house, like anything they're doing, Steve Buscemi's like a little bumblebee. He's like, and then Peter Stormare, like, I need Ungwen. He's just in the thing, getting like, he's not worried about it. Like, all right.
He just kicks in the door. Yeah.
And then, but Steve Buscemi's freaking out about everything. And then, and then here's this guy's like, yeah, well, I killed her. She was screaming,
Peter Stormare's character is low key one of the more frightening characters. And he's played crazy people throughout his entire career, but he is low key one of the more frightening. When he kills the cop, sees the guy drive by, and then just takes off after them, like, all right, I'm gonna go kill some more people. It is crazy. And then on top of that, it is established within about 5 minutes that these people are degenerates when they're fucking in the same room as each other and then watching Johnny Carson.
Hey, not to kink shame anybody, but that's disgusting.
That's weird.
Like,
that's weird.
Super disgusting.
It's weird. That's some
I
freshman.
don't want to fuck in the same room as this dude I just met. I just met this dude.
No. I mean, like, you'd have to cross a different kind of threshold of friendship with anybody you've known for a long time. Be like, all right, let's do this in here. But for like some guy you just met and I know a place in Brainerd we can get laid, and like they've got money, like they've got enough money to get a second room.
Yeah, you don't need to split a double twin hotel
These
room.
dudes are absolute creeps.
Well, and they're just like sitting there watching Johnny Carson.
Yeah, and the girls weren't even bothered by, like, when Francis McDormand is interviewing them, they're like, yeah. They're like, yeah, that's what I did.
You were with the tall feller. Yeah.
We met these two dudes at the bar, and we just decided to bang them, and then they left.
Circumcised.
Wasn't circumcised. Yeah.
Does that help?
Anything else? It's just that
was he
scene
funny
is,
looking apart from
was
that?
he funny looking apart from that?
Yeah, that scene is incredible, but it is established from the jump that these two are just creeps from the very beginning. But you're just not like freaked out by it, which is such a weird thing that the Coen brothers are able to do, because I guess it's established early on between the rapport between William H. Macy and those two guys that, this isn't like within the context of the film, this is a diabolical scheme, but also we're not supposed to be that shook up about this, which is such a weird thing that they're able to do.
So yeah, they're just gonna kidnap his wife and like just probably like hold her up in a random cabin somewhere. It's Minnesota. I'm sure they have cabins.
No big deal.
They're just gonna chill, and then they'll give her back. And they'll
shit.
Yeah. But then, like I was saying, you find out that Steve Buscemi is not about this life when the other guy kills the cop in his lap, and he's just like, "Oh fuck!"
Which is something different than what he signed up for. He's like,
"Yeah,"
"Oh
he's
shit!"
like, "Oh yeah, I can't hang. Like you just killed a cop in my lap."
But like that's also when he starts to get pushed. Okay, this guy killed a cop. Now I've got to go to get this money from Jerry in Minneapolis. Okay, well then while he's there, Shep beats the parking lot attendant, tells him no. And then Shep Proudfoot comes and whips his ass with a belt. And then
Very
he decides, funny. And then he decides like, that's it. I'm not taking anymore. And then when Jerry doesn't show up, he just like, where's Jerry? And then, and then, tough as nails, with a bullet hole in his cheek, leaves, drives off and buries the money. I mean, like,
it is like, that whole thing is not to skip that far ahead, but to skip that disgusting. Yeah. That is such a, and when he shows back up at the cabin before he is spoiler alert killed and chopped into a bunch of pieces, is it disgusting when he's sitting there. He's like, shot me in the fucking face, and he's just drooling and like bleeding all over the place. He's like, I'm taking the car. He's like, no, that it is. Incredible.
But it also shows how like he just buried $1 million minus the 80, right? He comes to break bread with the other dude with just the 80, the dude says, okay, we're splitting the car. And as opposed to just giving him the 40,000, saying, whatever, keep it, and leaving the house, he thinks he's going to bargain with this dude who he just saw kill a cop like less than a day ago with brains. And it's like, what did you think was going to happen when you tried to negotiate with this guy and just walk out and say, are we square? What did you think was going to happen? Are you going to ask for you?
Caught at least 4 bodies in front of you. Like, why are you trying?
You've seen him kill, and he hasn't seemed affected by it at all. Why would he not kill you?
Gene is like, he hasn't even taken Gene out of the cabin yet. Like, she's still sitting there in the cabin on the floor. And that's the other, that's like kind of the synergy of the parking lot. Like, it's just $4. Like, you've got $1 million, you know where it is, drive back and go get it. And it's the principle of the thing for him. Like,
about the principle. Yeah.
He's going to stand on this. Like, I believe this in my heart of hearts. This is how I feel about this. This is like wrong. I've done a lot of bad things, but I'm not going to be taken advantage of.
Also, incredibly fucked up that what's his name, Budget Bruce Willis, is like fully invested in this, has killed 4 people.
Budget Bruce Willis, good lord.
For $40,000. Like, Jerry knows that he's like getting $1 million out of his father-in-law. Then Steve Buscemi finds out that, there was $1 million in here, but the other guy is just doing all this on the basis of $40,000 in an Oldsmobile.
He never thinks he's getting more than $40,000.
$40,000 at an Oldsmobile is all he needed to kill like
Umber Sierra.
Dog, them's is Clinton era, 1996, $40,000. Went a long way. No, I think those characters are just so slimy and crazy that it is, but they're just not unlikable, which is weird to say. They are unlikable, but they're not. Like, you can stay on the screen with them. Like, there's plenty of movie scumbags where you're just like, all right, get this dude. I can't anymore with whatever is going on here. But these sociopaths, you're just like, all right, I'm along for the ride. This is an interesting thing that happens within the context of this movie. And getting back to Frances McDormand, she doesn't show up till like halfway through the movie, and making her pregnant is interesting, but also the relationship between her and her husband is funny. So funny to me, because it's just like they're always eating together.
You got Arby's all over me.
Yeah.
Eating in near relative silence. Yeah. Like, they just sit there. They don't really have a conversation. And like, the other thing about, like, she's going to a triple murder scene, and parts of this, like, in Texas, you would be like, we got to get out there as fast as we can because this shit's going to smell, Mm-hmm. But in Minnesota, like, oh, they're frozen. Ain't nothing going to happen. It's 2 degrees outside. It's covered in snow. And he's like, well, you got to have a breakfast, So, she takes probably 15, 20 minutes longer so we can make her some eggs, and sit down and eat them. You got to have a breakfast.
I think that's a really good point, because I was like, why did they take so long on that scene? I think it just shows how slow everything moves.
Yeah, it's like a perfect tone setter. It lets you know this thing's going to move slow. Not that much is going to happen. The stakes are going to be small, but like, go in for the ride.
Well, I just
Prowler needs a jump. It's just like it just takes 15 beats longer than it normally should.
Yeah, but I mean, just think about, like, if you were a cop, anywhere else, and like, especially in a small town that, like, believe me, they don't have triple murder in that place. Is like, whoa, like, that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then to just take your time getting out there, like, if there was a triple murder in Moody, Texas tonight, and they called the Moody, Texas PD, believe me, if he was there in any more than 5 minutes, they'd be like, what is going on with you? Like, we just had a triple murder here. Like,
also a cop has been killed. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They shut shit down behind cops getting killed. Like, it's over for everything.
Yeah, there was only 2 sheriff deputies out there, and then they left them on the side of the road before the morgue got there. They're like, all right.
Yeah, like,
okay, like, what?
Somewhere near Waco, like a little while back, a cop got killed, I think, and they shut like every fucking thing down, like up and down 35. Like, you were going nowhere until they figured out who killed this cop. But they're just like, we'll get out there when we get out there.
Well, I mean, it sat there all night too, before somebody, found it, I'm sure, and called in. So, like, again, what's the rush? But like, it does, like TJ said, just to like it sets the pace of like, listen, this is going to move how this moves. This is not some kind of like rapid paced crime thriller. This is this movie. This is how they approach things. And that's like also what makes her like such an interesting detective, because like a lot of times you watch crime movies and you got a guy like slamming a dude up against the wall, like, tell me where the body is. And like, she just like, did you get a car stolen? Oh, hey. And then she asked like the one question I think throws him off. I can't remember what it was, but it was just kind of a fundamental question about the lot count. Like, how do you know, like, how would you know that a car was stolen off this lot? Because there's 100 cars out here. So like, do you remember, like, you know, you memorize, like, that was some Columbo shit right there. You just ask a mundane question and then he just sends him out the door, you know?
He was basically like, like I said earlier, he folds like a lawn chair. He's such a bad criminal that he was just like, well, I told you, I told you. He's like, dude, just lie more.
And he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go count right now, and then like walks past the window that she's sitting at.
Yeah.
To leave the lie.
Oh, he's leaving the scene. He's fleeing the scene.
He's fleeing the interview. He's fleeing the interview. Yeah.
Moving back a little bit though, when they go to kidnap Jean, I wrote down like it's fucking
hilarious.
Funny. She just sits there and watches this man in a ski mask with a crowbar like come up to her glass door.
She's doing knitting and she's staring at him like, is this dude really about to break into my house? Like, and it just proves also how big of an idiot she is too. Like, it's just an idiot couple on top of everything else.
Yeah,
like it's and then her running up the stairs, almost getting away. And instead of actually continuing to try to call 911, like the phone didn't get jerked that far away, but like, or getting out of the window or whatever, she gets into the bathtub, and instead of just staying silent, runs out and nearly kills herself. It is so funny when she runs through the bathtub and nearly kills herself.
Yeah, her falling down the stairs like shouldn't have been as funny as it was, but I was dying, bro. It was hilarious. But yes, I mean, she almost fooled Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi definitely was like, "Oh, she's gone. Yes, we're done." But Budget Bruce Willis, not to be fooled, not to be trifled with. He found her.
Yeah. Well, and then that scene also is like, that's where you see why Jerry's such a scumbag, because it's the loan. He thinks he's getting it, and he thinks he's got to call it off. Like, he tells Shep to call it off, but then he never got in touch with them because they're out in the middle of nowhere. And
he doesn't rush home and try to save his wife. He just goes about his day.
And then when he gets home, he's thrilled. Like, he's like, there's jubilation on his face when he sees it's been done. You know, like,
Wade,
oh, good,
something has happened. Wade, no, wait, no,
daughter, wait, it's my wife, wait, it's fuck.
Yeah.
When you see him practicing before he makes the call, it's just like this dude is subhuman. Like, he's literally subhuman.
Oh man. Let's see. I said Lundergaard is a terrible criminal. Her, yeah, I wrote down Dex. Her just staring at the dude before he breaks into the house. I thought she killed herself within that moment. Like, I thought that wouldn't have made much sense within the context of the movie, but it also would have been hilarious who just fell down the stairs and died. Like, it would have been a weird thing within the movie. Let's see. We got to talk about that. It doesn't even feel like the same Frances McDormand. I know I said this earlier, like within like recent movies, and obviously she's gotten older and been around for a long time. But like, you know, like Meryl Streep still kind of feels like Meryl Streep, and everything within, like, there's been a career shift within Frances McDormand's career, because this is not the same person. It's not. Cannot convince me this is the same woman.
No, yeah, I don't know. Like, she's done a lot of different stuff. Like, she was, you know, like, did you ever see Laurel Canyon with Christian Bale played her son, and Kate Beckinsale's in that? Like, that's kind of a weird, not a weird, but like, it's like, you know, her kind of, like, she was doing a lot of independent stuff, or she'd like randomly show up in a supporting part, you know, which is always like, she was the, what's that movie? Is it Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton? Like, she plays this. She plays the sister in that, and like, that's just not enough for Frances McDormand. But, you know, I'm sure she made a cool $1 million on that movie, and was like, yeah, sure, I'll come and hang out with Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson for 3 days and make $1 million, you know, like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, her career is, I don't know, this to me it kind of tracks, but like now she's got enough, like she's done enough like strong, tough women roles where she's now kind of like a superhero to like a certain part of like the movie watching public, so she's tough and she's badass and she's independent and so now, yeah, I mean, I don't think she's different. I just think it's like now like people kind of know who she is more. Like,
yeah, that's probably it.
Like people know Frances McDormand as opposed to like you say Frances McDormand now, people go, yeah. If you said Frances McDormand, even after 1996 when she won an Oscar, if you were 2004, you'd be like, Fargo, and she was she was the mom and Almost Famous, and like, there's like that's her, but like now it's like she's a boss.
Kind of looking at it, Frances McDormand will do anything. Actually, she was in Transformers: Dark of the Moon. So,
but yeah, when I first saw this movie in college, I had no idea who Frances McDormand was, and like I never cared to learn because it didn't really matter. So not until I watched this movie this time was I like, oh shit, that's Nomadland. Like that's the same person. Like that connection just never happened for me.
Yeah, so I just think she was. I can't say enough. She was brilliant in this, and of course, it's the poster of the scene, and I talked about it a little bit. Poster of the movie, just the body laying, the whole scene of them tracking what the crime happened, and the body laying in the background of this thing is I think it's the funniest part of this movie, where she's like, "Well, got some morning sickness."
Got a barf.
Yeah, and I just think I can't say enough. It's the funniest thing. And also we haven't talked about the father-in-law character within the context of the movie. Also, him being fed up that he has to pay money to get his daughter back is very funny. You're like $1 million. What?
I mean, he was gonna do it though. Like he had the thing on him when he went to do it. Like he was
not quick enough. Dude was slow to the draw, to be honest.
True.
He got worked. He got cooked, to be honest.
Even the dad, it's like, what? How did the dad think this was going to go? Like everybody is so hyper confident, and it's like the dad just thought he was just going to be an old dude with a temper and just going to will his way into the situation going how he wanted it to. Like, right. It's just such a weird scene for the dad.
The way he shows up and he's like, "No, you get it," and then he just shoots him. And he's just like he's like, "Oh, what did you think was gonna?" It's like, or what are you gonna do? Stab me, man who was stabbed.
Yeah. But him shooting that guy in the face though is just
hey, that's a good way to go out as ever. And Steve Buscemi ended up getting his, so karma came back to him pretty fast.
Yes, Steve Buscemi getting put through a wood chipper. He the biggest L in this movie.
Like I do feel like it's one of those things. Like the one time I did feel bad for Jerry in this movie is he was this close because he had convinced Stan not to call the cops. Like, oh, that's a good idea. And then at that point, he thinks like he's like right here. Like all I've got to do is let me walk out the door. Like if I walk out the door, then I can go get this money and everything's going to be, I'll have the money and we'll figure this out. But then the father-in-law's like, no, I'm going. Like, it's my money. I'm going. And then Jerry's like, well, he's just screwed. Like he's got Stan. Stan's like, well, yeah, no, I think Jerry's right here, Wade. And then he's like, well, then Jerry's like this close. Like that's the one last detail he needs for the whole thing to come to fruition. The one last detail he needs. And then nope, Wade's going.
Yeah, the whole reason that his plan falls apart is the reason he needed a plan in the first place. It's because his father-in-law doesn't like him. His father-in-law thinks he's a piece of shit. So I'm not giving you my money to go out there. Like you suck. Fuck you.
The reason
he's sure that he can run this show. He's so sure that he can do this. And it's like, okay, maybe you're sure of yourself, but on what planet did you think your father-in-law was going to let you handle a literal negotiation that involved $1 million in the life of my daughter on the line? Well, why do you think I would let you handle that? Like that
after not buying you a car lot.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
He doesn't like
he's
you,
just
dude.
Convinced that it'll go that way. Like,
yeah, he's not even the true decision maker at the place. He's the general sales manager. Yes. Like he's not even won't even let him do that. Like I'll give you this job and it's a good job, but like you're still not in charge. Like
Yes, you will not be in charge.
Yeah, you're not
Right.
like you gotta,
You would have to go ask somebody about like giving a discount on some Truco. Like that's your position in this car lot.
I'll tell you that Truco sealant. Don't need the Truco sealant. Right. No, why would you need that? The reason that I wrote down that Frances McDormand so disarming is when she goes and interviews what's his name?
Jerry?
No, the Indian man.
Shep Proudfoot.
Shep.
Shep Proudfoot. She threatens him with all this stuff like, you wouldn't want to be an associate to like a triple homicide now, would you? And then he goes, so you think you might remember those folks who were that you called? And he's like, like, it's just such a disarming sort of harsh thing. But then that whole scene of him beating the shit out of it with a belt, the one line that stood out of me is when he's having sex with the prostitute. She's like, "Oh, I'm hearing bells.
I'm hearing bells. Where you been? Where you been?
My favorite part of
that is incredible.
My favorite part of that scene is when Steve Buscemi's like, "Hey, I was fucking that girl."
like, God damn, dude.
Like Shep didn't know that.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't see that.
Hey, man.
Like if Shep had like he was gonna stop and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, listen,
My bad, bro.
Like,
Go ahead. Let me let you finish. I'm here to choke you
no,
out, but sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean that little breach in etiquette. I'm sorry.
You know what?
Tempered.
Let's run this back. I'm sorry. Get her back in here. What is
Ma'am, come on down. We're sorry.
So we'll wrap up here in a little bit. I said the you're from the Midwest when the father-in-law when Wade's final words were, "Oh geez," when he gets shot. Let's see. Now that you describe all the point to the mic stuff, that makes sense. Him just nailing him with an axe, and then the next scene you see is a wood chipper. This takes the darkest turn I think I've ever seen. It just is like, oh, haha, sort of like crime comedy sort of thing to, wow, this dude is a psychopath. Like this is crazy. All of a sudden, just the blood all over the snow and everything.
All over everything.
But he doesn't even worry. Like he is in no way worried.
Not
until she shows up, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah, I gotta,
I guess I'll just run into this frozen lake."
He doesn't have a gun on him, so he's just like, "Oh, I'm fucked. No, I'm fucked. I'm just gonna run."
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna break through the ice. I thought that would have been funny if he just fell through.
I'm gonna say spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen the first season of the television show Fargo, that's how the main bad guy in there gets it.
Oh yeah. It is. He just nails him with an axe and puts him through a wood chipper. It takes such the weirdest turn of which, I mean, obviously this movie's dark from the start. He murders 3 people. He murders that woman, yada, 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 but yada, 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 4 deaths. But it's just when he's putting that dude into the wood chipper and just not concerned at all about blood all over the snow, it is just like,
look, this dude is sitting in a cabin for 3 days or so in his long johns, watching fuzzy television unfazed.
He literally doesn't care that it's fuzzy at all. He's just watching it.
Yeah, he's just sitting there waiting for his 40 grand.
That guy's a sociopath.
Just waiting.
Yep.
And like
dead body.
If Gene would have just not said anything, like he would have just sat there with her for 4 days, like just waiting on this $40,000.
Well, I mean, he was perfectly like, here's the thing, is he was at least somewhat like, this was the plan. We're kidnapping her. And then eventually he just lost it. But like at some point he was like, well, if she cooperates, she can go home. It'll be fine.
Man of principles, I guess. But it's just a crazy unrelenting psychopath within the confines of this movie. But
like and it's funny to me how like the living criminals like get it. So like he gets shot in the ass running away on ice, afraid of a pregnant lady. Like honestly, like a pregnant cop who in no way can catch him. he is now terrified of her because he's seen his mortality of like, that's it. And then Jerry Lundegaard trying to crawl out the window in his underwear, in his tidy, well, they were whiteies, but like his underwear, like, it's just like the lowest way to go out. Like, you like, I would not like, if I was one of those people like Steve Buscemi, at least he got murdered. At least he didn't have to like go like meet his end. Like a psychopath murdered him. Like that's what psychopaths do. You ran across one. That's it. Like, you don't have to like you have to do like this, like, for the rest of Jerry Lundegaard's life in prison, he's gonna know he's the guy who went,
that is the funny thing about this movie is that it just works up to this entire point. Obviously it's only an hour and 38 minutes long and runtime, basically like an hour 30, but it just all of a sudden just ends. Well, it's such a weird, it's like,
if you think about the Coen Brothers movies, like, okay, they always have like one little quick last line, like Fargo, it's like, and it's a beautiful day. And then it's just like, or all for a little bit of money. It's a beautiful day. And that's it. This like simple point that's made. No Country for Old Men is
I had a dream. Yeah.
And then I woke up and then over. That's it. Like the point's been made. Even a movie as like ornate as Oh Brother Where Art Thou ends very simply with, the dude on the tracks like It's just simple. That's it. Like here's that one thing and it's over.
This was the story. This was it.
Burn after reading is the guys at the CIA or whatever, and they're like, what do we learn?
Brad Pitt,
not to do it again.
Oh my God! The ending of Brad Pitt in that movie will never not be shocking.
Yeah.
By the way, it's like just smile. Doom. Anyway, so it just really does kind of end. They arrest Jerry, and it's just like all that for a little bit of money. Oh, you made it on the 3-cent stamp. Okay. Yeah. It's just done. It's just done. Yeah, it's not like we just saw 5 people murdered and we were just like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Yay, stamps.
Yeah.
Anyway, any lasting thoughts on this movie? We'll draft dark comedies.
I just want to say that my favorite scene in this movie is where she's interviewing the 2 original prostitutes, just because it reminded me of like the date scene from Coming to America. I don't know why, but like the way it's framed, like just the conversation they're having, I was like, this is Coming to America. Like this the shit was phenomenal.
My name is Peaches and I'm the best.
There was a radio show I think in Houston that used that. Oh, you betcha. Yeah. Was that they use that as like an intro to one of their shows. I've never forgotten that. Anything else, Tej? Paul?
This is I'm in a Coen Brothers mood now, so I'm probably gonna watch some Coen Brothers films tonight because we've been talking about them. After reading is amazing.
Full disclosure, I've never seen The Big Lebowski in full.
You have to watch The Big Lebowski. Come on, that shit is
I know. Like I look like somebody that would love The Big Lebowski, but like
John Goodman is he's good at everything, but he is so good in that movie, man.
I've seen all the bowling scene. I've seen the Jesus. I've seen all of that, but I just haven't seen it in full.
I'm watching that shit tonight.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers are good at writing pontificators. Whether they're supporting characters or like in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, the George Clooney is the pontificator the whole time, and
we're in a tight spot.
In the Big Lebowski, it's John Goodman because the dude just wants to live a simple existence. He wants to bowl and drink White Russians. And then in Fargo, the pontificator's Steve Buscemi, and he's the one who's got they always have a person who's all that, and so I think in Fargo. It's just the fact that there's literally only one likable character and it's Frances McDormand. Like she's the only person in the whole movie that you can say this person is good and she's I mean, she's quirky, but she's the only person who's good. Like at least the main character. Like, she goes to see a guy from high school and that guy's a creep. she, everybody she runs into, she's a creep, and she doesn't let it change her at all. Like she's just going home to see Norm, and
her husband and the rest
You
of
like her and her
works
husband,
with,
and that's it.
yeah, that's it.
her husband, the rest of the people they work with are all idiots. They're just all she's
how's
just
the
the only one.
Yeah. How's the fricassee? Okay, it's good.
That guy's name being Norm is perfect, by the way.
Yeah.
He looks like a Norm. He talks like a Norm. Just Norm.
And she stops and gets him night crawlers,
Yeah.
so he can go ice fishing.
But that's it adds so much levity to the character of like, while she's solving probably the biggest case in the history of this place, or one of the biggest cases, while she's solving that, she's literally doing the social things of like stopping for eggs with her husband, picking him up night crawlers from the night crawler store. Like, as she's doing this, she's also just like living her regular life and just being a good wife and a good human, and also just being a complete badass and being the only one smart enough on the police department to actually solve this, because she has nothing to work with in terms of talent, of other people's talent.
You hear the one about the guy that couldn't get vanity license plates, so it changed his name to JGL 2404. Oh yeah, that's a great one. No, I do love that. The one line that I always love from any Coen Brothers movie is one, the call it scene, but also I don't want thought, god damn it. I'm a Dapper Dan man. I'll never forget. Oh, George, not the livestock. I always will remember that. But anyway, all right, let's do Dark Comedies draft right after this ad break from Apollo Houston. And now let's get an ad break draft. Let's get a draft. Dex, do we have a order?
We do. It's Paul, Royden, Dex, Teej.
All right. Paul?
Okay. Like I feel like as far as like dark comedies go, like I don't want to set like my bar too high. Like, there are some obvious ones that people are gonna do, but I'm gonna say right off the bat, my favorite one is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. With Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer. Like Shane Black, it's so good, and there's just so many like lines in it, like oh, this is like Val Kilmer, like this is Gay Perry. Oh, are you really gay? No, I'm knee deep in pussy. It's just a nickname. Like just stuff like that, and it's just so snappy and good. And it's probably, in my opinion, it's Robert Downey Jr.'s best non-Iron Man role. And so yeah, I'm gonna take Kiss Kiss Bang Bang first pick.
I'll just go ahead and get Fargo off the board if we're just going to do that. Like this movie was way more funnier than it has any right to be. Like, and I don't know that people knew that going into it, honestly. Oh, it's a crime comedy drama or whatever. Or it's a crime. It's listed on IMDb as a crime thriller drama. This is the funniest drama I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I feel like from like the trailers
hilarious.
and stuff, I went back and watched the trailer. There's no way for you to know this movie is hilarious other than like the Minnesota accents. But
yeah, so I'm gonna go with Fargo.
Cool. I'm gonna just take an easy one here, just because I haven't seen a ton of dark comedies, and this is listed as one. So fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm taking Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
I thought about taking that, but I didn't know if I would count it as a dark comedy.
Pulp Fiction's funny enough to where, like, I mean, like I'll tell you, Samuel Jackson's funny the whole time. He's not ever really, as heavy as he is, it's funny the whole time.
Yeah.
It's hard to not laugh when Samuel Jackson is talking. Like, to be honest, like he's just something about him is just funny. At least to me.
A few of Tarantino's movies kind of fall on that border too, but it may come up later on the list. Teach 2 picks.
Well, I'm going also Tarantino. I'm going Inglourious Bastards, which is obviously meant to be funny. It's fucking hilarious. And it's obviously dark. Obviously, there's crazy shit happening. It's heavy at times. That opening scene is extremely heavy and well acted.
Facts.
It's not really funny at all. But then all of a sudden you get into this fucking hilarious movie where this dude's doing a Boston accent and talking about the Red Sox. Like, it just becomes somebody's doing a fake
Teddy
Italian
fucking
accent.
ball game. We yawned on that one. This out on Landau Street.
like they're faking Italian accents. They're literally trying to make people think that they speak Italian, which is it becomes funny as hell. Obviously dark, but like it's just a barrel of laughs every time. And being able to give you both of those things in one movie is just perfect.
Yeah, what he say? You don't need to be Stonewall Jackson to figure out you don't want to go to a fight in a fucking basement. You know,
we're all tickled to death to hear you say that. Donnie's the closest thing we get to go into the movies.
Donnie, we got a German here who wants to die for country. Oblige.
Oblige. Yeah, I speak the second most Italian. You don't speak any Italian. I know.
Second most.
That's what I said. Third most.
Oh yeah.
It's just so it's like a treat every time you watch. It's hilarious. And I'm gonna stay Tarantino and be a dweeb. And I'm gonna pick Django, which is
I'd argue it's more funny.
There's no way that a movie about slavery should ever be as funny as that film is. Samuel Jackson is the funniest human being ever in that film. He's just incredible. The comedic timing of it is just so good. It's obviously super dark and a lot of dark shit happen. Leo is just it's just the Big Daddy character. It's just hilarious. So I'm going those two.
I think like if you wanted to just like cut out like individual scenes in movies of like pure comedy gold, like the dinner scene in Wedding Crashers, I think is just so well like snappily written and like wraps around so fast of like people saying ridiculous stuff. But like I think on another level is the Hoods and the KKK with Big Daddy and Jonah Hill. It's like, well, it'd be nice to see, you know, not point any fingers, you know. We all think could have been done better. This time we go bags. Next time, no bags. Next time we go full regalia. Full regalia.
No, nobody brought an extra bag.
Yeah, you know, and like there are lines like in that movie that like you know, again, like it's one of the things that would like, if not for the, you know, the frequent use of the N-word, it would be infinitely quotable, you know, like one of those things. But you can like, it just knocks you on your back of like, holy crap, this should be so tense right now. I mean, here you get Samuel L. Jackson just berating Jamie Foxx, berating Django, and it's just snap, 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 snap.
Yeah.
Just,
sue me, the KKK scene is one of the funniest things in cinema history I think I've ever seen. It is.
I've still never seen that movie.
Cried laughing,
but I've seen that scene.
Have you never seen? How have you never seen Django?
I didn't do Tarantino for a long time, really, until we started this podcast. I just didn't do Tarantino just as a general rule.
Like I think Inglourious Basterds is his number, like even over Pulp Fiction to me is his number one, because it is like such its own thing. But Django, like he hit at like a level of screenwriting in there that like just the way he wrote the dialogue in the movie.
Yeah, it is that scene is, because it's one of those scenes where like, am I supposed to be laughing at this? But when everybody in the theater is like collectively having, because I saw it in the theater, is collectively having a moment where it's like, all right, this gives you agency to like laugh at this, because it is fun. It's just
you know
so stupid and ridiculous.
Well, that is, but that's what it does, is like it shows how silly racism is, like how like it's terrible, but like it's how silly the people think that are like racists. Like they ride into a town and everybody's freaking out because he's riding a horse. Like how stupid is that would freak you out?
Yeah.
Like, who's that nigga on that neck?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like how stupid is that would freak you out? But the other thing I think about it is like, if you show that to somebody who like doesn't understand why people freak out about racism, like this is how stupid it is. The people that you think, oh, they're not that racist, like these people in this town didn't think they were that bad, and then they flipped out because they saw a black guy on a horse. Like that's how stupid it is. And he was able to write it in a way that was like, oh, this is kind of funny to see these idiots fall in the mud because there's a guy on a horse. You know,
doesn't matter if you can see, all it matters is a fucking horse can see. Anyway, all right, Dex.
I'm gonna take another movie we talked about on the podcast, taking American Psycho.
Yeah.
Like the business card scene has no reason to be as funny as it is. Him lobbing a chainsaw down the stairs at this poor woman is hilarious. him chopping that, like killing Paul is hilarious. All the
Hey, Paul!
Huey Lewis in the news stuff is like, all that shit is just so fucking funny. I hate the ending of that movie, but the first part of it is just so good that I gotta say,
I want to ask you guys for like, what did you, when you did the podcast, you know, there's like debate about the ending of the movie, whether it's like all really did happen in his head, or that because he's rich and white and works for his dad's brokerage firm, it's just one of those things that like went away for him.
What did we say? Because we at the time we had someone on the podcast who had studied the book, actually, strangely, but like written papers and stuff on the book about like it's more clear in the book that it was in his head. But the way that I took it at the end of the movie, if it wasn't in his head, the way that he got away with it is that he's just some white dude on Wall Street. That's how I took it.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember. I feel like whatever it was like very obvious and like very uncomfortable. I don't remember exactly like
it wasn't as deep as the filmmakers wanted it to be.
Yeah, apparently like the director wanted it to be like this very ambiguous, like back and forth debate kind of thing. But you watch the movie and it's like, yeah, I don't remember like if he did it or he didn't do it, but whichever one it was stupid obvious and like just dumb. So I hated that part of the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen to our American Psycho episode. That was
I'm gonna have to.
So my next pick is The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling.
Great film.
This may fall more into just an actual comedy, but it deals with the death of many people, including a porn star and everything else. I think it's one of the better comedies actually of the past decade, probably, and deserved a sequel. Never got it.
Also Shane Black from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So
yeah, he has a lane. It's not Iron Man 2, which he did, but like this is the lane, and I think their rapport is it's incredibly funny. Ryan Gosling nearly throwing up every time he sees somebody killed is just a funny bit the entire movie. Anyway, 2 picks. Paul.
Okay, 2 picks. I'm gonna go. Let's see. Gross Point Blank, which is John Cusack, Minnie Driver. It's a romantic comedy. It's one of the first like hitman. Like both these movies I'm gonna pick are about hitmen. It was like with a funny hitman movie. Have you guys all seen it? Gross Point
I'm
Blank?
looking at it on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It has actually good ratings.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've never heard of it, to be honest.
Okay. Well, okay. Again, it came out in the late. I think I took a girl on a date to see this movie when I was in high school. I think it's 1997. Yeah, I was a senior in high school. So, but he goes back to his 10-year high school reunion, and he's a hitman who's like maladjusted. Like he disappeared in high school, went off to join the army, and then became a hitman. And he's back in his like hometown in Michigan, in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and like other hitmen are coming to get him, and he's just trying to reconnect with his high school girlfriend. It's so like you would think it would play like a normal like romantic comedy, but like it's so twisted and like, you know, he's like the people just kind of like eventually have to accept like, yeah, I'm a hitman, yeah, that's how it is, you know. And so there's that one, and then the other hitman movie that I'm gonna pick here. I guess I like hitman movies, even though it's kind of a overused trope, but In Bruges with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, like most of the movies, like pretty funny. I mean, like it's really funny. And then you find out the reason that they're in Bruges is that Colin Farrell accidentally murdered a kid, you know, and of all the bad stuff they've done, the bad stuff they do in the movie, he accidentally murdered a kid. And like, you know, like that's about as dark as you can get for a dark comedy.
Is that who is that?
Brendan Gleeson's in it with him.
No, I know who. He comes out with movies. He did The Gentleman.
Oh, it's not Guy Ritchie. No.
It's not Guy Ritchie.
No, it's not Guy Ritchie. It's let's see, to do Martin McDonagh.
Oh, Martin McDonagh, who did 3 Billboards, and of course, 7 Psychopaths as well. I'm going to take one that's kind of off the beat. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and go with this one because I have to. Death of Stalin. I've talked about this movie before on this podcast. That just deals with the fall of a nation and the transition of power and the death of a of a leader, obviously awful leader, but like deals with that and the policies behind that in the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so funny. And it's just like a bunch of Steve Buscemi's in it as well. And it's just all of these people that are supposed to be Russians. It's by the guy that made Veep. But it's all these people that are supposed to be Russians just talking in American and British accents because nobody cares. And just dealing with the process of who's going to take over power in Russia. And it shouldn't be funny, but it's so darkly funny and deadpan and just self-serious. It's so funny. I think it's on Netflix. Check out Death of Stalin if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. That's a good one. And nobody, like, everybody just uses their normal accent except for like some people are Russian, and then like, but nobody's like really trying to, like, Steve Buscemi's not trying to play Russian. They're just playing,
not even a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's Khrushchev. I think that's who Buscemi plays, right? He plays Khrushchev. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dex.
So I'm gonna go with a very, very recent film, and it's probably not as funny as some of the other ones on here, but there's still funny parts. I'm gonna go with Parasite because that movie counts. Fucking bangs. That movie is incredible. Like, just from start to finish, it's like
the best picture winner is really good.
I mean, that's not always a given.
That's not always a given.
Green Book exists, but like it's start to finish. It's like hella tense, except when they throw in these like random little comedy bits, and like it's not even English. Like it's just still funny. Like the screenplay and like their acting and all that stuff is just still funny. Some of the random shit that happens is still funny. Like the whole big twist of the movie.
The big twist of the movie when that whole is fucking bananas, and it's still kind of funny though when he hits him over the head with that rock or whatever. Yes. I was kind of like, whoa. He let out one of those, what the fuck is going on? But it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that movie is so,
because they're all assholes. They're all bad people actually at the same time.
Them having sex with them like under the ottoman or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like so uncomfortable and so funny. Like I just love that movie. I need to watch it again. I think it's on Hulu or whatever. But if you haven't seen Parasite, still fix your life and go see Parasite.
Mm-hmm.
Tease.
Ghost picks.
I got 2 picks. All right.
I got 2 picks.
I'm gonna go The Wolf of Wall Street. Love The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Leo's incredible. Everything about it is just so. It's hilarious, and it's also it's so funny. You literally forget like you're watching
debauchery,
gross displays of debauchery and greed and what greed means, and this is not somebody we should be glorifying, but holy shit, it's just so funny to watch the whole thing just kind of crumble and his rise and his fall. It's just absolutely funny when he's high and he's on the Quaaludes and he's driving the car. It's just
up
amazing.
up there with Fight Club of movies that 20-year-olds didn't understand. 20-year-old men didn't understand at the time.
I didn't understand. I saw Fight Club. I was literally that old when it came out, so I thought I got it. I got it. I get it much more now. But
yeah, I was 20 when Wolf of Wall Street came out, and people were like Jordan Belfort, and you're just like, he's not a good person.
Do not root for him.
Here's the comedy of that movie. Like some of the lines, like I don't like. I'll tell you, I'm never going to fucking Benihana again. I don't care whose birthday it is. You know.
Did the sides cure cancer? He's like, yeah, they did cure cancer, actually. The best scene I think from that movie though is McConaughey stealing the show from literally Leonardo DiCaprio.
Peak Leo for 5 minutes and then just leaving the movie.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, let's fuck. Anyway, yeah, just the Tusky. It's incredible. The entire
you're like, how many times? Like, oh man, those are rookie numbers. You gotta bump
those numbers. Yeah, you'll be stroking it. You'll be thinking about money. All right, what's your second pick?
My second one is a movie that I came out in 2010, but I didn't see it until a couple years ago. Four Lions. Has anyone ever seen this?
Yes. Yeah.
I actually have not.
It's
I have
incredible.
It's about a group of terrorists that are trying to do a suicide bombing, which obviously is super dark, but like they're just kind of fumbling about it. It's like they're very bad. And the final scene, which I won't spoil for you, is maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen in a movie ever. It's just the it sets up, there's all these little jokes and it's funny, but then the final scene is just like a butt gusting, hilarious experience. Obviously super dark concept, but amazing execution. Very funny movie.
Riz Ahmed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
A king.
Riz Ahmed, early
king.
joint. Dex, final pick.
Let's see. Oh, my final pick is gonna be Heathers. Just because that movie is so fucking weird and like
I've never seen it.
it's strange. There was a girl in college who I wanted to have sex with, and she decided that we needed to watch Heathers, and so we watched it. Otherwise, I would have never seen it. Apparently, it made like $1 million at the box office. Like, this movie was not popular.
Also, another film nerd's like, best of the 80s. You should have watched Heathers.
Yeah, she was one of those. Yes.
Yeah.
But
I have to watch
that
this.
movie is like, it's like a high school. It's like at a high school. There's a lot of like suicides that happens, and like bombs are going off and shit like that. And like you get a lot of your regular like high school comedy shit, but also people are dying like throughout. So it extremely weird, extremely niche like film, but I like it enough, and I haven't seen a whole lot of dark comedy, so Heathers makes my cut.
No, that's a perfectly fine pick. It will comes up on any list that you type in on Google. By the way, my next film is going to be a very recent pick, just because I love this so much, and I don't think it won the Oscar for best foreign film, but it's on Hulu. Go watch it now, I beg of you. Another Round is one of the best movies that I think I've seen in the past year and a half, and it is darkly comedic and stunningly sad. It is so good. I think Mads Mikkelsen gives a pitch perfect performance. It's about, if you haven't seen it, it's about 4 teachers at a private school that try to test and write a paper about if your blood is your life better if your blood alcohol content is 0.04, or just below the legal limit of being intoxicated. And of course it devolves into all of them sort of becoming alcoholics and things like that. But it's so dark and so just brilliant. I think it's a brilliant movie. I think it should have been nominated for Best Picture, but I digress. I think it's one of the better movies obviously one of the better movies of 2020, but one of the better movies in a long time. Go watch it.
Yeah,
It's on my list of movies I have to go watch.
Only thing I know about that movie is that like it was getting Oscar buzz and all that, and that there's a dance number in it apparently, and like I know nothing else about it other than what you just said.
It doesn't spoil anything, but it's the very ending scene. You're kind of like, what is this? Because you just see all this terrible shit happen, and you're just like, okay, it's a really it's kind of disarming. But final pick, you definitely watch it tonight. It's very good. Final pick.
All right, I have 2 Hitman movies. I also have 2 John Cusack movies. I'm going to go back to the 80s. Better Off Dead, which is, I'm almost positive none of the 3 of you seen it.
Absolutely not.
I'm not.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, just on the fact that this movie would in a million years never get made right now. Never, ever get made. It would never, like the script would not pass. It would just, it's essentially an 80s ski movie. Like that's what it winds up being. But John Cusack is a guy whose girlfriend breaks up with him. And for the majority of the movie, he is trying to unsuccessfully commit suicide.
Good Lord.
In high school. He's serious. Like he's trying to set himself on fire and like all this weird stuff. Like he does it and somebody else gets hurt. Nobody dies, but like he's trying to commit suicide because he's so bummed out. And there's all these little random things like Curtis Armstrong from Revenge of the Nerds is his buddy and like can't afford real drugs, so he like snorts Jello, like random weird wacky stuff. Like he gets in a race with like there's these two one of them is the bad guy chosen from Karate Kid 2, but there's these two Japanese guys that live in his town in Colorado there, and every day they want to race him, they drag race him, and they learn to speak English by watching Howard Cosell. So like the guy's doing like a Howard Cosell impression from Wild World of Sports. It's so random and so weird, and it's, I mean, like again, it's a movie that makes you laugh about this guy, a teenager trying to commit suicide, which again is not at all a funny premise, but in 1987 it works. And
absolutely would not fly. But
there's a like a whole ski villain thing where he's got to do like a, you know, like a ski off at the end of. I mean, it's not like, again, but the movie is really funny. The jokes are really funny. You know, it's just
written and directed by a guy. This is all you need to know about this movie. Written by a guy named Savage Steve Holland.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's
this movie is not streaming anywhere that I can tell. Like not even like for money.
1985.
So,
yeah. See, again, it's probably been canceled. You know, like it's into that, like in 2021, like it's one of those things that would never happen, but you have to kind of like, again, you put that out of your mind and you just it's just, you know, like it's, again, like if the four of us went to the studio right now, we said, listen, we've got this great idea for a movie.
listen, you're gonna want to hear this.
It's hilarious. Like, you're not doing comedies anymore. It's about a teenager who wants to kill himself. He can't do it because he's inept.
But it's funny.
But it's funny. Like he doesn't, you know, he
doesn't really, but
yeah, he kind of skis his way out of depression, you know, like like he, you know, like it just that, but it's, yeah, it's not streaming anywhere, man. I might have to just buy 3 out of print DVDs for you guys and send them.
Express mail.
I'm in.
Somebody's been trying to get rid of that DVD on eBay for years.
God damn it, I will give it away for $1. You can't even find that in the Walmart bargain bin thing that you do.
No,
Next.
absolutely not. But I have to find this movie and watch it now. Like, I need to know this exists.
Another movie that I was gonna take, a movie that nobody saw, but it's by Bobcat Goldthwait, and it's one of the last Robin Williams movies that's actually good. Was World's Greatest Dad. It is, not to spoil it for it because it happens in the first few minutes. It's a struggling writer who's a high school teacher whose son hates him, but he writes a memoir for his son after his son dies of autoerotic asphyxiation. And it is so dark, but it's one of the better Robin Williams performances that I think I've ever seen since like Good Will Hunting. It is, go watch it. It's World's Greatest Dad. So that was one of them. Of course, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Serious Man is on this list, another Coen Brothers film. I guess if you want to, is No Country for Old Men? No, that's not even a comedy. I don't even think.
I would not consider that dark comedy.
No. I would throw Bad Santa in there as a dark comedy.
Yeah, Bad Santa is awesome.
Yeah, Bad Santa is awesome. You know,
shit happens when you party naked.
Yeah, my brother lost an eye fighting you fuckers in Vietnam. You know, kind of.
The another one, Yorgos Lanthimos, The Lobster, a movie that I saw at the New York Film Festival and did not understand it at all as a 19-year-old. I was like, I got tickets to this. I'll go see it.
Great
Didn't
film.
understand that shit at all, but it is really, really good. Any more that y'all have off the top of your head before we get another this has Game Night. I don't know. I think Game Night's like a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
Well, dark things happen. There is literally a shootout, but it turns out to be fake. But then it's kind of But no, I don't think I would consider that a dark comedy.
I don't see how that's profitable for Frito-Lay.
We're gonna have to do an episode about that movie, man. It's come up so often.
It's so good.
I mean, you mentioned Fight Club earlier. Fight Club is a comedy. I mean, it's it's a comedy. you know, it's heavy in parts, but like, you know, it's a comedy. You know, nobody said Dr. Strangelove, which is about nuclear war.
Yeah,
you
true.
Yeah.
know, you know, so
But I said Jojo Rabbit.
Oh yeah, actually,
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
JoJo.
I didn't say Jojo Rabbit because I hate it, but other people.
Oh, you
like
hate?
it.
Oh.
Oh man, TJ. Oh,
I did not like it.
You're killing
When we
me.
were- yeah, I thought it was awesome. I don't know, like
I love
like, I know there's
Taika.
some,
I just didn't get into it, but I love Taika, so I'm gonna give him more chances.
yeah. But yeah, have you guys ever seen the movie? Here's another one from my era, Very Bad Things. It's a Peter Berg movie. It's about
No.
these guys in Vegas, like Jeremy Piven and like Christian Slater's in it, and they're at a bachelor party in Vegas, and like one of the guys banging a stripper, and she hits her head on the like a door, like a towel hook on the door in the hotel
good
room.
lord.
Yeah,
No.
and they've got to cover up the murder. It's man, it gets like keeps getting worse. Like everything keeps getting worse and worse, and you know,
And of
What
course,
is it called?
Very Bad Things.
The Great Dictator, which was the original dark comedy where Charlie Chaplin plays Hitler. So there's that. But this is how we're going to start ending every episode. I'm kind of surprising with you because I know you're good at comedy, Paul. But what is your one
Yes,
hot
yes.
movie take? We're one take pod. We need your one hot movie take, whether it's a movie you hate, a movie you love, a movie you despise, a filmmaker, actor. Give us your hottest movie film industry take. We'll give you some time. I'll edit around it if you have to, but it's some time to think about it if you need to.
You know, I'll tell you this, and I realize that this is probably my hottest movie take. I realize that she can play almost anything, but
no.
I don't get
Oh, no.
Meryl Streep.
No!
All right, no.
Yes!
Oh my God.
Fuck yeah!
Oh my
knew-
God. Not again.
I
like-
knew where you were going.
I get like
Not
there
again.
are things that she's in that I love, that I've like,
Yes.
she's great and all that's fine. But like she has, I'll tell you this, here's another hot take that I will say that has nothing to do with
Oh no.
necessarily with movies, but, and I realize that she is also talented, but I believe she's the second most talented person in her own marriage. And that is that Beyonce's not really that great.
Oh no!
All right. Shut this podcast fucking down
I
right
am
now.
leaving.
Y'all gonna get us canceled.
Here's-
Shut this down right now.
Here's the deal.
We are
Beyonce,
never doing this again.
Beyonce, Beyonce
Oh
is
my God.
Beyonce's super talented and she can sing and she's wonderful and all that.
Stop right there. Don't say any other word.
That's all you need to say. That's the end of the sentence.
But listen, she's never fucking cured cancer. And every time she does something, people are like, oh, that's it. That's it. Beyonce solved it.
This
She
is
hasn't.
the worst take that's ever been taken on this
and I'll tell you this.
podcast.
And I'll tell you this.
Yes.
This is terrible.
I'm a huge Favreau fan. I love John Favreau, but there were problems with the Lion King movie, like the facial expressions of the lions. They don't really emote, but even had they emoted, Beyonce fucked that movie to the wall.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
my
it. No,
That's
she
fair.
didn't. No, she did not.
He did, yeah. And
She did
it's
a
just
perfectly fine job. She
I will
wasn't
say
great,
the
but
one
she
thing
wasn't
about
horrible.
Beyonce, is that she's not a good actress.
look, Austin
She's not.
Powers 3 is not a good movie. I'm not going to pretend like it's Citizen Kane.
It wasn't
again-
her fault.
No, but she's not she like reads like, I'm surprised that like cue card guy isn't standing right next to her and we don't have like blooper scenes like, oh, you can see his fucking hand in the cue card right there because she's reading her lines all the time.
God damn.
They
I
almost
just-
put Beyonce in the Lady Gaga movie. They almost
Okay.
put Beyonce in it.
All right,
And
look,
I,
and
I
I
will
like-
say I'm happy they went with Gaga. I will say that.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say
No.
I was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans at Radio Row, and this has happened two times to me. In Indianapolis, I'm at the Super Bowl, and that was when they used to bring the halftime guest into Radio Row. And it's because they wanted everybody reacting like, oh shit, it's the whoever, So Madonna walked right in front of me. And here's the deal. The first thing I thought was like, oh, when I was younger, I remember thinking she was hot. And I was like, fuck me. God, what'd you do? Like Like that was my reaction to her. Like, geez, too much plastic surgery. And then when Beyonce came in the room in New Orleans, like it was pretty cool. Like I'm not gonna admit, but like that's when I was like, are people too excited about her? Like, just like she's not doing like
Beyonce was in your presence, and your thought was maybe we're making too big of a deal for her. You could smell her. She was in your presence.
She was 6 feet away. She was 6 feet away.
How is that the thought going through your head when she's in your presence? I would have been on the floor thanking God that I got the opportunity.
And look, here's the deal. Like,
be close to Beyonce.
Listen, like I rock with Jay-Z back to the first lyric he ever rapped, and so but
she's not just Jay-Z's wife. She is a
I know
queen.
that. I know that. Like, but I just like it's kind of the hype around her that I call it's like I feel like she's been kind of T-bowed by the world in that like there's so much hype around them that like we don't ask the question of like, are they really that big of a deal? Like
that's because T-Bow was untalented.
Yeah.
Beyonce is talented. T-Bow is very untalented. That's horrible.
Let me rein this back in.
No, we're not going.
We have to cancel this segment for the rest of the
holy shit.
It's done.
We're gonna get canceled for this shit.
I think she's great in a lot of things. Like there's stuff I like, but
she's the greatest. She's the GOAT.
But
I'm gonna tweet a disclaimer that says there might be Beyonce slander on this episode of the podcast, but please be warned that I did not participate in it because I love Beyonce. She's a queen.
I just don't get all like your reaction. I don't understand, and you're totally justified in having it. I don't understand. I don't get it.
There's one out there. There's always someone. But to go back to the Streep take.
No, don't do this.
No, that
please.
is bad too.
I fully support this. I fully support this take.
Well, she like when she's great, she's great.
Yes.
But nobody gives it like, and that's the thing, probably the same thing about Beyonce. Like when she's great, she's great. But when she's average, nobody has the balls to tell like that's not your best shit. That's not your best shit. Like that's the thing that bothers me about them both is that like when they're great, they're great. Holy cow. That's just life-changing stuff that they've done. But then when they're average, nobody's been like, you know what? Like, but like, Tom Cruise does a shitty movie and I know he's crazy, but like everybody will be like, it sucks. We knew he was crazy. But if like Meryl Streep,
you're like been doing this for 50 years. Maybe we have another conversation.
Yeah.
But no, Meryl Streep has been doing this twice as long as I've been alive. Like, no, I'm not gonna be like, you kind of suck now. Like, no.
Not she's not now, but like the thing is like, okay, Denzel Washington, when he like the little things, I'll tell you, is a hot piece of crap.
That movie stinks.
They didn't even bother to watch it.
It's a hot like
people were very down on it.
Like it's set up as this like big cat and mouse crime thriller of it's got 3 best actor winner, or I guess 2 best actors and a best supporting actor in it. That's like those are the leads, and it's boring and aimless and nothing. And Denzel, he was not very good in it. He personally was not very good in it. I saw Denzel on Broadway in The Iceman Cometh, and I watched that dude for 4 hours, and it was unfreaking believable. But this was not his best stuff. Any movie where he's run on top of a train, not his best stuff. If Meryl Streep, when she does stuff that's kind of like average, like, well,
that's Meryl. That's just Meryl.
Yeah, I mean, like she gets the benefit of the doubt when, like, you should be able to call her out. Like Beyonce's great stuff is great, but like when she does stuff, like again, "Say My Name" was her first big hit. That song sucks ass.
Wow.
All right, shut this podcast down.
We're done.
Please end the pod. This is ridiculous.
Wow, Paul.
I mean, it's not like
shut down
the podcast.
Can we mute Paul's mic, please? You're gonna get us canceled. This
Lemonade's
is
an
awful.
anthem. "Say My Name."
All right. Holy shit.
Opinions of One Take Podcast are not the opinions of the One Take Podcast.
Just say opinions of One Take Podcast.
This podcast is a pro Beyonce podcast. Please understand that. Thank you.
Good Lord. Paul
I'm not
Catalina.
anti-Beyonce. I'm Beyonce.
Paul Catalina with the hottest of One Takes. Jesus.
Well, that segment died immediately. That segment is dead now.
Nah, that's gotta stay.
That segment is dead.
When Marcus said that Mad Max Fury Road was trash, I was like, okay, this is like peak hot take. Like, we're done. We can't outdo it. And then Paul outdid it twice. Like, back to back.
Everything from here is just fucking down, but we got to keep this segment. We got to keep this segment going. Holy shit. I'm crying. Oh my God. Okay. So that has been a One Take podcast with Paul Catalina. Paul, holy shit. Where can they find your Just non-Beyonce content.
Yeah, non-Beyonce content. Stick'em365.com. All of our stuff every single day on Twitter at Paul Catalina. I also host Believe in the Cowboys podcast. I've got a new one I'm about to post up here in a second. So you can follow me at Paul Catalina on Twitter, or Paul Catalina 56 on Instagram. Although I don't understand that medium, which is probably why I'm not really that big into Beyonce either. So, but I'm not backing off my Beyonce hot take. I know, understand I made you really uncomfortable, but again, I mean,
this is the clip we're posting online, by the way.
No.
Yeah,
All right.
post it. I'm not, look, you guys will come out smelling like a rose.
Guys, I love Beyonce. Do not
you guys will come out smelling like a rose. You know,
we are Beehive Boys on this podcast.
Man.
Yeah, I do think Beyonce fucked the Lion King to the wall should be emblazoned.
I'm
I'm
not blaming Beyonce for the shortcomings of that personal.
I mean, she's not the only one, but her first line as Nala just was like, I mean, yeah.
You were looking for something. You were looking for something to
It wasn't here's the thing. I had forgotten that she was even in it, and then I was like, man, who is Nala? She's not even. And then I pull up IMDb. I'm like, hey, Beyonce's wrecking this thing. Like, you need to channel some dream girls for this.
Please stop.
All right. That has been a One Take podcast. You can find us at One Take Pod on Twitter, One Take Pod on Instagram. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. Please go leave us a 5-star review, or whatever review after hearing this one take that you feel like. Please don't cancel us. Actually, we've come after Taylor Swift fans on this, so I don't know.
Fuck Taylor Swift.
Thank you. Agreed.
So I don't know.
I'm not worried about them canceling us.
They've come after Dex. They've come after Dex though. But
he's still strong, as he should have.
There, you can find us wherever you find your podcast. But please go rate us 5 stars. Leave us a review on Apple. Follow us on Spotify as well. Dex, where can they get the dopest Houston sports merchandise, please?
All you gotta do is search Apollo Media on Twitter, follow them, and you'll get alerted every single time they drop new shit. Go to apollohau.com and you can buy all their new shit for 10% off with promo code OneTakePod. ONETAKEPOD. The dopest Houston shit you'll ever see in your life. Just go buy it. It's fire.
It's free real estate. No, so you can find that at Apollo Media, apollohau.com. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for downloading, subscribing. We really appreciate it. One more time, Dex, what are we doing?
#support Florence Pugh. The MCPU is coming July 9th. Go see Black Widow in a theater or buy it on Disney Plus. Whatever you got to do. Support Florence Pugh.
Next episode, we are doing a Cruella review from Disney Plus. So go ahead, catch up on that. Watch that really quickly. Thank you so much again for listening. We're out.
That was a lot.
Oh shit.
I hate that. Zoom